bit of a, not necessarily a decline, but a flattening in terms of the total number of startup ventures, and if we want to use that as a measure of entrepreneurship in the country. But then if we go from there to break down by kind of geography, what we see is millennials are starting much fewer or far fewer businesses than other generations.
I'm the owner of KP's Cookies and Cakes. It's a baking business that I started about a year or two ago. I started this business to gain experience doing something I really enjoy and make money out of it. There is a competitive baking industry. There are a ton of bakeries around that I have to compete with, and I'm just one person working, and so it'll be really tough to compete with the other businesses. In college, I plan on possibly getting a job in the hospitality industry, so maybe working in a hotel or in a restaurant or something. And I plan on going into hospitality and tourism, and I want to either be a caterer or an event planner.
We've reached a certain level of affluence in this country where, the fallback plan is to, maybe live with mom and dad a little bit longer, maybe to stay in school a little bit longer. Plan B is pretty attractive in a lot of ways, and so that kind of fire to get you out to do, to take risks, to do things, is maybe not as prevalent as it used to be. Push versus pull entrepreneurship. Push entrepreneurship is when you don't have any options, you get laid off from your job. So one way to solve that problem is to create your own job by starting a company. And then there's the pull entrepreneurship where, I have other options, but I've come up with something that I'm really passionate about. I have really something that I think is a really great idea, something that's really going to take off. And so I leave my current job or current situations to go pursue that.
My name is Jim Doherty. The name of my company is called Amtech Information Service Incorporated. Well, there's an old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. I was actually laid off of a job. We're a mom and pop company, so we're not that large.
One of the things that we know from a research study that my colleagues and I did, we looked at how layoffs influenced entrepreneurial intentions, so intentions to start a business, and we found that there was a pretty significant spike in people's intentions to start a business after experiencing a layoff event.
A lot of people don't like working with their family, but as a father, I enjoy it every day. The son-in-law, he's a little bit different. He does most of the admin work now. He does have a vested interest in it because I'm sure one day he and my son together will likely be the folks to take the business over.
You're much more likely to become an entrepreneur if your parent, at least one of your parents, has been an entrepreneur. And we're not sure exactly why that is, but I think the most logical explanation is that you're seeing that behavior modeled. You're seeing people that take risk on a regular basis. You see how entrepreneurship works. You see what it means to be an entrepreneur. One of the disadvantages that we have in entrepreneurship, in terms of academic training, is that people know what it means to be an accountant. They don't necessarily know what it means to be an entrepreneur. The question that comes up in terms of millennials is, is part of the reason that they're not starting up as many businesses is because they don't have the same work ethic as the generations that came before them. They're criticized for this. I don't see that in my students in my classroom. I think they work pretty darn hard.
I started my first business when I was in about 5th grade. I started a little sewing business called Sassy Stitch, and I would make different products, purses, tote bags, pillowcases, and I was able to start my own business here at Baylor. Oso Tan, it's a limited liability company, and we go around and do mobile spray tans. I have 2 employees that work for me. We've been able to make profits every year we've been in operation. I've learned about different marketing strategy. I've learned about customer interest surveys and how it's so important to find mentors.
My number one piece of advice is always that if you're interested in starting a company and you're interested in entrepreneurship, the best thing that you can do is get a mentor. Find somebody who's done this before, particularly if you can find somebody in the space that you're interested in. So if you're wanting to do something in technology, you find somebody who's done that. If you want to start a baking company, you find somebody who's done that kind of stuff before. So we know that experience matters a lot in being able to identify, is this idea a good idea? Is it a business opportunity? And experienced people are much better equipped to be able to help you answer that question than you on your own.
People say about entrepreneurs a lot, they're risk takers, and it's a risky occupation, but I think there's a really smart way to do that can minimize that risk.
Most entrepreneurs are not actually risk seekers. They engage in what's called affordable loss, which means they look at what's the worst that can happen if things go wrong, and does that meet a threshold that I can accept, as opposed to looking at things that are really risky. Things that entrepreneurs do to us as outsiders look risky, but to them they're not that risky because they have insider information. The two things that seem to be the strongest characteristics for entrepreneurs are perseverance and work ethic. So just having a strong work ethic, and then basically your kind of competitive spirit, your willingness to go out and try these things and to take this on. But perseverance and work ethic are the number one kind of characteristics. So it's not that you have to be the smartest person. It's not that you have to know way more than everybody else. It's really about how hard are you willing to work at this to try to learn the things that you don't know, to overcome the obstacles that are going to come up.